Hey there, crafters. I'm Jen. Welcome to my channel. I use a lot of die cuts in my card making, but I don't have many Valentine's dies. This is intentional because Valentine's Day is the most versatile holiday for card makers. So stay tuned because today I have over a dozen tips and examples to demonstrate just how to use your existing dies to create your Valentines. Now, before we get started, I want to mention a couple of things. First, you do not need to have the exact dies that I'm using. While it's possible you may have some of the dies that I use, particularly a couple spellbinders or C9 dies, the focus is more on the categories of where to look rather than replicating these specific cards. The next thing might be stating the obvious, but it's a helpful reminder that a heart and a sentiment of affection is all you really need. In fact, of all the cards I make this season, this is probably the one that I will give to my husband. The sentiment is Catherine Pooler, and the heart is C9. And I believe that's Trinity for the sequins and tonic for the mirror. Oh, and the inside says, "You're wonderful and I love you." That came from the Alpine Village from C9. The final thing I want to mention is that I'm using the categories that I use to organize my products. You may have a different system, but this will at least tell you the general idea of where to look. So I am starting alphabetically, and this one I think is also one of the more obvious ones, and that is using our alphabet dies. And what I did was cut out a whole bunch of X's and O's. So I thought we could make a card real quick using our X's and O's. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't use my alphabet dies very much. I thought that that would be a product I used most. And so when I first started die cutting, I picked up a couple sets and I just never used them. So I counted and I do have enough to go all the way down, but even something like this, or going down like that, right? So the idea is the different ways we can use something as simple as our alphabet dies. All right, so I'm going to fill up the page with them. All right, let's go with that. Let's start gluing. Now, looking at this die, you might not immediately think Valentine's Day. And in fact, this came out after Valentine's Day. I believe it was March. I can't find the packaging. My desk is too chaotic right now. The point is, with our animal dies, we have a lot of options. And simply by changing up the envelope, I've created a Valentine's. Now this card will come together very quickly. I already cut the card front and the layer. This is Pink Lemonade C9. This is Wildberry C9. I'm just going to glue her down. Now she's got a couple layers on her. I did that to thicken her up a little bit since she's going to be the focal point. Okay, the sentiment for this card is from Picket Fence Studios, and it actually can span the width of a A2 card. I've cut it down a bit, and I think I cut a little too much off, so I'm going to add another layer on top of that. But before that, I'm going to add some embellishments in pink lemonade to match the base. Okay, we're still on the second category, but for card number 3, I wanted to show you that this category extends to other types of animal dyes. Now, I have this, it was something that was a clearance sale on Tonic's website, and I was able to get the whole kit for really cheap. What it is, um, and I use this all the time for kids cards. And so there's a koala bear, a panda bear, there's a little sloth, a turtle, and a frog. Every single one of them can be a Valentine's card. What I have done, I've already put them together. I've also die cut. Um, this is cranberry and this is sorbet from C9. This is just an embossing folder that I want to say that it was called Leaves or Vines. I didn't keep the packaging. It's something that I picked up years ago at Joann's. I also die cut part of this set, a little branch. I'm going to use the sentiment, "Let's hang out." I always recommend checking after Christmas, when you start putting away your Christmas dies, is to pull out anything that is winter or could be romantic in some way. And those are going to be your best bets for finding something in your Christmas stash. This is from the handmade holiday bundle. I also cut out a champagne. Um, this is, I learned this trick from Carissa Wiley. It's actually a bow topper, but it makes the cutest little bracelet. Now I'm using tape for this, even though the glue is easier and you can reposition, there's a little bit more give. The problem is that it will show through underneath mirror cardstock. Future me jumping in to note that this is the part where I completely forgot about the layer to the left and started gluing. So the card didn't come out exactly how I envisioned it, but it's still a lovely card. In terms of their hands, I used the natural cardstock pack from C9, but for the man's hand, I darkened that with an Ohuhu marker just to give it a little bit of a distinction between the two hands. I'm using that same die set from the last card, only a different position of the hand to hold the weight of these various hearts that I'm piling on. The hearts come from just random collection through the years. All right, here are the two example cards that I have for the handmade holiday die set. And there are a couple more um, hand gestures that you could actually incorporate. I think one of them, this one can be used in the same kind of vein as that one, where it's holding a heart, or you could even be holding flowers. That would work as well. So a couple different options that you can get from just that one die set from Christmas. All right, I decided I wasn't done with this card, so I went back and I added a sleeve to, with a pretty little cuff to her outfit, and I also use iridescent shimmer. That's from scrapbook.com. Well, if I looked in Christmas, I looked in Halloween as well. And I have two ideas. One that I am going to make. This is from Brutus Monroe. It's called I Love You. And this is easily two different cards. You can use the images. It's a stamp and die combo, so you could use the images, or you could use this little zombie hand. I went with the zombie hand. So I used my Ohuhu markers and colored them up, covered the whole thing in glossy accents after I die cut it. This one isn't for everybody in terms of a Valentine's, but I actually think it works quite well for some of the people I know. In addition to this make, I also thought about the Vault Wicked die set and the potion bottles and doing like a love potion or bringing in a cauldron, even using her hand to be pouring into the cauldron. You could go a couple different directions with that, the love potion, or you could even do something like under your spell. The easiest way to change up your heart dies is using different techniques. One technique I like to use is the overlay method, where I use the reverse to create a overlay over some background that usually has some technique applied to it. So in this case, it's mica spray that I have used in rainbow order on top of black cardstock. That's not the one I opt to go with, however. I decided to use double-sided adhesive foam tape, and this is from scrapbook.com, and it's a very, very, very tacky. So you only get one shot at this. Even with liquid glue applied on top, I have not had much success if I don't get it on the right way. There's no going back. I'm just going to position it using my silicone mat, and then once I have that, because it is tacky, I'm going to use that open space and fill it with rock candy. That's also from Distress. I've never used that much rock candy before. Man, is that striking. The sentiment is from Waffle Flower. For this next card, I'm using a faux embossing technique by taking the hearts and scattering them around in the same color cardstock. I prop that up on 1mm craft foam. The sentiment from Concord and Ninth is also propped up on craft foam. I believe that one, though, is 3mm. I debated on how to categorize this particular die. I have it under nature, but it could also have gone under random or miscellaneous. But the key here is well, to quote a fictional British Prime Minister, love actually is all around. All right, a little cheesy, but you get my point. It's really about looking at how you can find love and affection in random places. The Heart Tree die set comes from Echo Park, and the sentiment comes from Waffle Flower. I think it makes for a very cute, clean, and simple card. I categorize this card under nature as well because there are so many directions that you can take this card. I see Valentine's Day as a winter holiday, so I would probably keep the winter theme, but you could also change that up and make that a lake. You can get rid of the houses and make it more of a scenic backdrop. There are a lot of card examples on the Concord and Ninth website, and that's a clue on the versatility of a card. Even if Valentine's Day isn't one of the card examples, you have the bones here to make it romantic. Another place to find the versatility of your dies is to look at the sentiments that come along in your stamp and die combos. When I see that sentiment, we are a perfect pair, well, that's when I can envision this as a Valentine's card. So don't forget to look at those sentiments. They are usually a good clue. I finished up the sentiment by including a waffle flower sentiment from the same pack that I've been using. I also used embellishments from Picket Fence Studios as well as from This Calls for Confetti. The cardstock is Blueberry and Midnight. Now, I couldn't talk about Valentine's Day die cuts without mentioning flowers, but I'm including this example under the sentiments category. It's a bit of a contradiction from my last point of looking to your sentiments to find your Valentines, but I also want to remind you that abandoning the sentiments that come with your stamp and die combos can fundamentally alter the appearance of your existing dies. So instead of using the banner that comes with the C9 Primrose Garden set, I use cardstock from a Motor Scrap pack in Tropical Dream, and the sentiment is from Tonic Studios. Well, I hope you enjoyed these examples and tips. If you did, I'd appreciate a like. Also, consider subscribing so you can see more content like this. It's free and it really helps this channel grow. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Saturday.